Hello, Alan. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Douglas. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. First thing, right off the bat on your bio, it says you're a professor of theater at University of California, San Diego. I studied theater a long time ago. I went to dramatic arts school in New York and never quite finished because I started there and ended up joining a band. And I couldn't do the music and the acting at the same time. So the school, I had to give up the school. It was too bad. It was a fun school to go to. But
Yeah, I mean, that's a trajectory where people go into theater school for romance. That doesn't work, so they start a band.
yeah, well, for me, it was just a good excuse to get to New York City because my parents weren't going to give me any money just to say, hey, I'm moving to New York to join a rock band. That wasn't acceptable. But if I said I was going to school, I could get some support. So at 18 years old, I didn't have a lot of choice in the matter at that point.
Good strategy.
Yeah. So let me ask you, did you decide to be a professor of theater after you studied to be an actor, or did you just not study to be an actor? You didn't want to be an actor.
You know, my studies at grad school were in literature and playwriting, and I went to Yale Drama, and then I had luck with grants and commissions, but I realized I had an essential question to resolve. Would I be a commercial writer for TV and film, or would I want to be, in a sense, the pure artist and write for theater and not compromise the language or the scope of the writing? And I did try soap opera writing for a couple of weeks, and it was really miserable. And I wanted then safe harbor, and the game plan was to find a university that had either a solid tenure track position or, respectable adjunct, and that would supplement my income as a writer. So that was the plan.
So your plan was always to be a writer, not necessarily an actor, right?
Yes.
Okay. And now you're a professor, so I assume you teach.
I teach. I've been at the university. This is my 36th year.
Oh, wow.
It's been very accommodating and exciting, and a lot of our grad writers are prominent, and we have a wonderful acting school, design school, and a PhD program. So it's been wonderful to be part of the community, and then also have the liberty to get sabbaticals and grants so I could travel for research, and it's been a wonderful partnership.
Are you teaching dramatic art or are you teaching playwriting?
A little of everything. It's literature, playwriting, and then I do a lot of film classes for the large enrollment, and I've written scholarly on film studies, and I've even led the film studies program for a time. So I do a little of everything, but it's all in the canopy, under the canopy of performing arts.
Something you said earlier I want to go back to, where you said that you were miserable writing soap operas and television, and you thought theater was more of the pure art. Is there still that kind of, I don't want to use the word snobbery, but it's the only word I can think of to use, where the people in the theater really sort of look down on television and film?
I don't think that's true in the last 10 or 15 years with the explosion of quality,
Netflix.
Netflix and
Yeah.
Apple and all. In other words, there's such pedigree now in HBO and premium cable and the power of Netflix that it's totally respectable. Actually, it's prestigious if you get aligned with a very important TV series. So back in my day, coming out of grad school in the early 80s, we didn't have that venue, and it was days of our lives, and you would have to mimic the voice of the team of writers and write a Friday show cliffhanger for Monday, and everything about it was like Hallmark greeting cards. It had nothing to do with your personality or the idiosyncratic, philosophy of the aspiring writer. This was about being in the factory and making something of a common standard. It's the McDonald's Big Mac. You have to just build that hamburger day after day after day. But that's not the case in 2024.
I suspect the money is better if you get on a good series.
Yeah, if you're on a good series for a couple of years, you might have your meal ticket for life. You can bank on that if you invest your money well. I know the stock market is doing quite nicely in the last couple of weeks. A 4 or 5 year ride in a hit show could carry you all the way to retirement.
Let's see, according to this, you have published 19 full-length plays?
That's correct, and it's not the same play with different titles. They were 19 unique stories, full length, and I'm very proud that they went into print. Some of the plays were not produced. They were difficult to produce politically, but they were published in anthologies. So I'm very happy with that canon of publication.
Okay, and you've also got several novels out. When you wrote your plays, did they start out as novels and get turned into plays, or were they written strictly as plays from the beginning?
They were written strictly as plays.
So I see Maddie Q and I see Architects of the Taj Mahal. How many novels do you have published at this point?
I have 5 novels. 2 are young adult novels. The first one was back in 1979 with Harper and Row, and then I did a sequel in 2018, Albert Down the Wormhole. And then when I became comfortable with that form of writing, and when we entered COVID, all the theaters were shut down. Some wouldn't open up because of funding problems, endowments ran out. And I thought maybe it's best to try a long novel for an adult reader now that I'm comfortable with the form and I didn't have to worry about COVID. And I wrote Maddie Q. Actually, there was a previous novel, Clear Blue Silence, with another publisher, and then Maddie Q. And then just a few months ago was the galleys and publication of Architects of Taj Mahal.
What's harder to get published, a play or a novel?
I think plays are hard to publish if they're not produced, and when they are produced, that usually means there's an acting edition and maybe a library edition. They're 2 different modes of publication, but they're equally honorable. A play that does not get produced is harder to get published. And I think in terms of the economy, the efficiency of publishing on demand, when you don't have to have an inventory of 10,000 books, and that was back, many years ago, that small presses can function very well as the big 5 presses, because they're basically publishing on demand, and they don't have to be swamped with inventory and then have a remainder where all the books are sold for 99 cents. So I think in today's economy, and where theaters are, the nonprofit theaters in our country, I'm having more success getting the novels published than trying to get plays produced if they are of political nature and the trends in the commercial theater.
Are all of your plays of a political theme?
I'd say the vast majority are political, and they're uncomfortable because it's not clear what is the treatise or what is the political point of view. I have a lot of ambiguity, but in my aesthetic, I like to make audiences uncomfortable. I like ambiguity. I like not to introduce cruelty, but the uncertainty of outcomes. And I call it the theater of upholstery, and I'm revolting against the theater of upholstery. I would like audiences, I respect American audiences, and I admire British audiences, and I think political theater is smart theater. We need to look at the struggle for equity, for equality, for all forms of racism, and why we have a sense of original sin.
You said you like to make audiences uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is a very vague word. Can you define that a little bit as it relates to your work?
I think when we go to the theater, people that have disposable income and can afford an expensive ticket, we want not an escapist entertainment, but we don't want to be.
You mean like a feel-good play? Yeah.
We want a feel-good experience, like a good restaurant experience, and we don't want to feel embarrassed about the story, that there's a part of us on stage and we see as an element of our unflattering profile. And I think what I'm doing is I show the flattering profile and I also show the unflattering profile, and I like that dialectic. I'm not trying to punish anybody, but I will take images of our society and of myself where the lens and the angle are not flattering. But I'm not making an editorial. I'm just saying that's what nature can see if you look at both angles.
Are people running around naked in any of your plays?
Maybe 2 plays out of 30 plays. There are some high energy naked people. For example, I have a play called Lilith. Lilith is an archetype and a legendary figure, the woman before Eve in the Garden of Eden. And half of the play is about their divorce. When Adam wants to leave Lilith, Lilith is too powerful for him and wants to take up with Eve. When this was produced in New York, the director, doesn't have it in the production notes or the script, staged the Garden of Eden totally in the birthday suits of the 2 actors. And I found that very uncomfortable to watch. I didn't know that was going to happen. I went to see the show. I flew in from San Diego. They were good-looking actors, but it was a small theater, and as you just said, they were running around butt naked.
That was what came to mind when you first said uncomfortable, because I can remember, write-ups and things about some plays that came out in the 70s that when nudity was sort of in fashion, if you will, on Broadway. And Oh, Calcutta was one that came out. And what was the other one with Daniel Radcliffe where he went naked? Equus.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, that was the first thing that came to my head was, oh, he's writing plays with naked people in them. But
even Jane Fonda was naked from the waist up in I think it was Beethoven's 33 sonatas that came from La Jolla Playhouse and went to Broadway. So she was naked. I think Nicole Kidman was naked on the West End in a David Hare play, The Blue Window. So it does draw the public, particularly if it's a hot actress.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Allan, we are quickly running down on time, so I want to make sure we get the book in. So let's go with the architects of the Taj Mahal. Can you give us a 1-minute overview of the book?
Sure, I'll try my best. It's a triptych. It's a 3-part story looking at the antiquity of India and the team of architects building the Taj Mahal. Then we have a female architect from Las Vegas, where I believe you are, and she's on assignment with Taj Mahal in Atlantic City in the late 1980s, early 1990s, that Trump ended up controlling as his property. And the third architect is Rex Heuermann, who is currently in jail in New York on the indictment of the Gilgo Beach murders of female escorts. And he had worked for Trump for one assignment. And I try to show a common thread with these 3 architects and looking at the culture of America, end of the 20th century, and then the beginning of the 21st century, and the power of Trump and where we were as a society when you have structures like the Taj Mahal, the eighth wonder of the world, how that came to being. But there's another pun, I think, or some inside joke with the book. Ivanka Trump is buried at the Bedminster Golf Course in New Jersey. That's Trump's first wife, and most people know that Taj Mahal in Agra, India, has the remains of the emperor's favorite wife, and the Taj Mahal was constructed to give immortality to this beloved woman. And I love the contrast of a spiritual burial and this tax dodge burial at a golf course. That's the only reason you would bury someone at a golf course. You convert your country club to a cemetery and you pay less taxes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well, it's in the book. I hope people get to that. It's in the beginning of the book, and then it goes to the end of the book, and then it all comes together. It's how Donald Trump says he seems to free associate too much, but he makes a beautiful weave. I love that word weave because it looks like what they did with his hair. But there is a weave in the book, Architects of Taj Mahal. These three different lifespans all coalesce. And then we see what is the enigma of the Taj Mahal.
Well, unfortunately, our time is up. We are going to have to wind this down. So the book has it been released?
Yes, I think it was published 4 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. All right. Last question, Allan. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
I do. It's just www.allanhavis.com.
Okay, we'll put it up on the screen. Thank you so much for coming on the show. This was interesting. Sorry we ran out of time. I know we could have gone on a bit longer, but I think we gave people an overview of the book. Best of luck with all your work.
Thank you, Douglas, and wishing you a happy Halloween.